Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report, a look at city updates and municipal news. And a preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda. Your hosts, Emily Mikowski of Oshkosh Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us on your City Manager's Report, your source for all of the local, most recent things that are happening in your city, as well as a preview of the upcoming City Council meeting agenda. I'm your host, Emily Mikowski, joined as always by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Great to be here, Emily.
Always great to have you. We're going to go ahead and dive right into our hot topics for the first half of today's show. We're going to take a little break, and then we'll come back with the preview of the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, May 24th, 2016. So, Mark, without further ado, first thing that we want to talk about is a few things that actually happened this morning and this afternoon. First one being the Grove Street Twin Dominium groundbreaking that took place this morning at 10 o'clock. Pretty exciting project that they're breaking ground on.
Right. This was talked about a couple weeks ago at the last council meeting. We have a great partnership with Habitat for Humanity, the Oshkosh Winnebago Housing Authority, as well as our Menominee South Neighborhood Association, and of course the city. The idea is to do what are really called infill housing projects. In this case, it's called a twin dominium, which is a fancy way of saying a duplex that is going to be jointly owned by the common area by two people, condominium, but just two units together. And so it's right here at the corner of Parkway and Grove Street. It's right near the old Mercy Medical Center area. This is, again, it's a twin dominium, so it's going to be two houses that Habitat for Humanity will line up people who qualify under their program, and they'll each have a housing unit to enjoy.
And this is a special kind of house too. It's an accessible home, so it's meant for those people who might be in a wheelchair or have another physical disability that kind of prohibits them from getting around very well too. So it's going to be, I think they were like 12 or 1,300 foot spaces that are easily accessible for those people. So it's really a cool, interesting project that is all around just kind of a feel-good thing.
And we're very happy because it fills in an area that had been vacant, and whenever you can put something in that matches up, it's not identical to the neighborhood, but when it matches up well, it helps give the whole neighborhood a little bit of oomph and a lot of pride. And the neighborhood association has just been wonderful. The last meeting, they agreed to work on a community garden. This home is this twin dominium is going to be right by that garden, so you're going to have a great congregation area as well as new neighbors for the Menominee South area.
Yeah, so we're very excited about this. This is actually the first project under the One Oshkosh initiative. I think we talked about that in the last episode of City Manager's Report. But there is a lot of information about it on the planning website and the community development website under the city. So it's just a great thing. If you want to learn more, go to our website. There's a ton of information on there, not only about this project, but about the One Oshkosh initiative.
And we're real happy this will probably be done by November. That's the goal.
Yes, we're looking forward to it. So beautiful day for that. Another beautiful day for a ceremony that was held at the police department this afternoon. Actually, we came right from it, and now we are taping right here. It was the police ceremony for fallen officers, and it's all part of the Police Recognition Week this week.
It's a very solemn ceremony. Fortunately, it's been 80 years since we've had one of our officers killed in the line of duty, but we don't take that for granted. We recognize all fallen officers, and so in addition to honoring 3 Oshkosh officers who have died in the line of duty, we also honor other police officers and other law enforcement officers who fell in Wisconsin during 2015. So we honored several of them, and the ceremony just gave a little biography of the service that they provided to their law enforcement agency, the circumstances surrounding their on-duty death, and then a very emotional 21-gun salute to honor all of the fallen officers, both most recently as well as those in the past. So Chief Dean Smith was there, former Police Chief Scott Groyle was there, a lot of folks. We ran into an officer, a retired officer from the Milwaukee Police Department, came in from where he was, his retirement home, and just wanted to visit and be part of this event. And very solemn ceremony that's very appropriate to honor law enforcement officers, especially those who fell in the line of duty.
Wow, and it's exactly as you described it, Mark. Very solemn. The police chief had a very touching speech about the kids and the families who are left behind too. So also honoring those people. So you can see here the gun salute that they had. Just a really great ceremony. And all this week we're kind of recognizing our police departments around the state. So make sure you thank your police officer next time you come across one.
Absolutely. Very nice ceremony.
Mm-hmm. Next thing that we want to talk about, Mark, is a little bit of an update. A lot of people are asking us questions on social media about this. What's going on with Washington Avenue? When is it opening? What happened? I thought it was just a one-day thing. Maybe you can give us a little bit of an overview of where this all started and why it's still closed.
First of all, it was totally unexpected. What happened was the sewer main underneath the tracks on Washington Avenue failed. I don't recall all the details of how we discovered it, but we immediately needed to take care of it. Unfortunately, when you have it near a railroad track, you have to be very cautious because that collapsed main could also result in collapsed tracks, so you have to take a great deal of precautions. With that said, that sewer main that failed dated back to the 1880s, so it was literally it was over 130 years old. So
wow.
Certainly it served us well, but we needed to make sure that public safety, particularly rail safety, was not compromised. And so in the course of that, we also discovered that we had a leaky water main there. So we started to work on that. And then we were concerned about the ballast or the foundation beneath the tracks. That's something that we can't work on, that the railroad has to work on. And they have to replace 120 feet of track. So that is how that's done is they work off site getting the track totally in place, and then they move in and they remove the old one, drop the new one in a very short order because they're trying to keep the tracks going because you can't detour railroads very easily.
Not
so
easily, no.
a ton of work that needed to get done. I'm happy to report that even though it still remains closed, the plan is to have it completed by May 25th. So by the time the next council meeting rolls around, I think we'll know that it'll be done by then. But you can't cut any corners when you're working on rail safety. And this is something that dates back to long before we were a city, long before the railroads were here. And we put those sewer mains down there 130 years ago. It was time to replace them.
It's amazing how old those sewer mains are. But so like you said, Wednesday, May 25th, the detour does remain. So if you've been taking it, keep taking it. Eastbound and westbound traffic will go north on Broad Street, over the tracks on Merritt, and then back to Washington Ave. That's all marked out for you. And we'd like to thank all of the motorists too for their patience throughout this. And the end is in sight. So.
Yes.
One really cool thing, Mark, we want to talk about is a project that's going on at the Oshkosh Public Museum. Started last week or earlier this week, and it's going all the way through June. It's the canoe project. They've got a big log out there, and they're digging out a canoe.
This goes back to the new renovation at the museum called People of the Waters. Museum Director Brad Larson is so excited about this. And what they are doing is, with Dr. Jeff Boehm and students at UWO, they are creating an old Native American canoe in the old-fashioned way of doing it. And literally, it's burning the log through until they get to the right thickness that a canoe is there. And
so it's not a campfire we're looking at.
It is not a campfire, although it would make a dandy campfire, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
You notice that kind of dirtish, brownish area on the sides. Brad Larson, our museum director, explained to me that's a clay soil that is used to protect the log from getting burned on the side. You just want it to burn down so that it creates the hole in the canoe where people can sit and row their canoe. So once it gets a little too hot and getting compromising the edges, they remove it and then they dig a little bit and then they burn a little bit more. And I guess the burning process also seals the wood so there's no leak. So it's an ancient process that worked, and Dr. Boehm and the students at UWO are doing a wonderful job. So it's a great history lesson in the making right as you're there. So we're very excited that we're able to partner with the university, and this is one of those things that you'll see in the People of the Waters exhibit when it finally opens.
Very cool. Yes, which is planning on being open, I think, mid-2017, give or take a month or two. So looking forward to seeing that in the new exhibit. Next thing we want to talk about, Mark, is the Schreiber House. Of course, if you've driven anywhere near the Payne in the past few days, you've seen a house up on stilts. And this is kind of a project that's kind of gone back a little while, too.
Yes, well, we're really just moving down Algoma Boulevard. We're right at the museum, so if you want to go take a look at the museum and then go look at the Schreiber House. Schreiber House, a house that's been there for 100 years, and the Payne Arts Center purchased the property, but they didn't want to just let the house go, but they needed to do it for expansion of what's going on at the museum, for Payne Arts Center, for parking and other events that they do. But a local group has purchased this house for a whole $1.
$1.
And they're
What a
moving
deal.
it. They're moving it literally just a block away across the street, right there about Arboretum Drive in Algoma. And they're going to be moving that on May 28th, which is really the reason we want to bring it up, because it's a Saturday, it's Memorial Day weekend. So don't plan to be out there on Algoma, because you'll probably have to take a detour, because they have to move this house very slowly.
Yes, I think it was going to take about 8 hours, they said, to move it just that couple of blocks.
Yeah, it's just a very short distance. So they're going to be doing that on May 28th, but it's wonderful that such a historic treasure is being preserved here in Oshkosh, and very close to where it was originally. So
Yes.
we're very excited that the local folks were able to save this house.
And I think it was a Waters house, too, wasn't it? I think that historic value is really, really neat.
I believe this is a William Waters design, and the Schreiber family dates way back. I think the mayor has some relatives who are tied into the Schreiber family, so I think he's very pleased that it's being saved as well. The city really doesn't have anything to do with it except the permit to move the house. So this is all being done with local dollars, the Payne Arts Center, the local folks who are moving it, and hopefully going to have a really cool house when it's all said and done. So we're happy that it's staying here in the community.
Definitely. Well, it looks like it's that time of the show, Mark, where viewers have the chance to ask their city manager anything they want about things that are going on right here in their city of Oshkosh. So let's go ahead and see what the question mark question is this week. All right, Mark, so the question this week is, I heard a rumor that a group is trying to bring an NBA D-League to Oshkosh. Is that true?
Short answer, yes. This is an effort that's being initiated in response to, and this is what I've heard and done a little research on, the NBA apparently is requiring all of its teams to create a developmental league team, known as the D-League. The Milwaukee Bucks do not have a D-League team. They're one of, I believe, 6 or 8 teams that don't have it. And so a local investment group looked around, and they identified out in Santa Cruz, California, this is the Santa Cruz Warriors. They're the D-League team for the current reigning NBA champs, Golden State Warriors, and it's Kaiser Permanente Arena. And what the idea is, they want to develop a temporary facility here that would be able to house about 2,500 to 3,000 fans for the D-League team to call home. They don't have any specific location identified yet. City staff and staff from the Greater Oshkosh Economic Development Corporation are working with them on potential sites, but the Bucks have issued a request for proposal. So this group of Oshkosh investors, Windward Asset Management Group, is leading the charge, some local investors, and from what they've told me so far is that the temporary arena that they're looking to do with just their private investors and whatnot. Eventually, and if you look at the Kaiser Permanente site that we had up on the screen, there was some information there. They have it as a temporary site. The idea is 5 to 10 years that they would be there, and then they would go to a permanent facility, larger, that would attract perhaps larger trade shows, larger sporting tournaments, things like that. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to a meeting a few weeks ago with the Windward Group where they made this presentation, and I'm super excited about this. Now, of course, we're the regulatory agency. Sometimes we're the killjoys on this thing, but I still believe that this is something that we would absolutely want to do. Oshkosh has always had a great history with basketball, dating back to some of the early days of professional basketball. The Oshkosh Flyers were here. A lot of inspiration for today's NBA. So it's something, a proposal that we would have to make. When I say we, I like saying we, but it's not me. It's this private investment group. But we're certainly going to assist them in identifying potential locations, identify any pitfalls that might be in their way that we can get out of the way for them, and enable them to make the most assertive, aggressive, positive proposal to the NBA, to the Bucks, to get them to consider putting in Oshkosh. What we hear is they want to be within like a 2-hour radius of downtown Milwaukee, so that if they needed to pick up the phone and say somebody, come on, you're going to the big time, they can get there that day for an evening game or something like that. So we're excited about it, and cross your fingers and stay tuned. I'm happy to be able to tell people about it, and as we know more, we'll tell you more.
Very exciting news. You mentioned it's a temporary facility, so in the 5 to 7, 8 years that they use it, after that, what would the building be used for? Would it be like trade shows, like you said?
It would be used for trade shows. My understanding is they would also use it for, that would be their practice facility afterwards. So they do have an idea about having a life for this building, because if they're going to be private investors, they want to get a return on their investment. So we're real excited. It's still in its infancy, so you're going to be hearing more about it as time goes on. So as we know more, I'm certainly going to share it. I know the first thing they're looking for are people who are interested in perhaps pledging that they would purchase season tickets. So that'll be the first thing you'll see going out there. You may get an email or hear about that. And I said, put me down for 2. I think this would be great for Oshkosh. So,
and I have to ask, I know other people are going to ask, Buck staff, is that a possibility of maybe a location for that?
It is. That isn't what this was intended to be for, but certainly we would look at that. If it's a temporary facility, I'm a little hesitant, but I think we want to talk about long-term what we would do. But we're certainly going to show them Buck staff property as one potential option. So we're excited.
Very exciting news. We're looking forward to hearing a lot more about this project as it moves forward. Now that we've got it out in the open, we got to talk about it. So thanks, Mark. Great answer. If you'd like to send a question to Mark, simply email it to questionmark@ci.oshkosh.wi.us, and he'll answer it on the next episode of CMR. We're going to take a little break on City Manager's Report, and when we return, we're going to dive right into the City Council meeting agenda for Tuesday, May 24th. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jim Collins, Transportation Director for the City of Oshkosh with an important message for motorists and bicyclists. Recently, the city has begun painting bike Shero symbols on roadways. The term Shero is short form for shared lane bicycle marking. Sheros are made up of bicycle and chevron symbols, and they are located about 4 feet away from the curb where parking is not allowed and about 11 feet where it is. Streets with Sheros do not have a designated bike lane, but still indicate that the roadway segment is a bike route and is expected to be used by bicyclists. Shero markings are used to show motorists where cyclists will be traveling within the lane, while also showing cyclists proper lane positioning, especially where lanes are too narrow to be safely shared. It's important to note that with or without marked Sheros, bicyclists are encouraged to travel on streets and follow traffic laws just as any other vehicle on the road. Motorists are urged to continue to be aware of bicyclists and to share the road. Thank you for keeping Oshkosh safe, and happy riding.
Welcome back to City Manager's Report. Thanks again for joining us. Mark, we're getting right into the May 24th City Council meeting agenda. First thing that is on the agenda really is a presentation that we want to talk about, and it kind of ties to something later on in the agenda too. It's the Greater Oshkosh Healthy Neighborhoods Incorporated, better known as Go H&I. Tell us about that.
This is really a group that's intended to take over where NeighborWorks left off. NeighborWorks, our partnership with NeighborWorks was with a group based in Racine. We see the need that we're growing, and we need to have a local group that could perhaps become a NeighborWorks chapter down the road. Bill Wyman is one of the leaders of this organization. Mayor Cummings is part of it. The idea is to get our neighborhoods together to work on some of the projects like we talked about earlier, like Grove Street. Find partnerships to help improve neighborhoods, get them more engaged, and this is just one vehicle. The idea is this nonprofit group is similarly structured for neighborhood improvement, like Greater Oshkosh EDC, Go EDC has been structured for economic development. The idea is you get a variety of people together that will raise funds and do projects and really do things outside of the realm of the governmental realm to get things done with fewer regulations and just get them done quicker and make an impactful improvement to our neighborhood. So we're looking forward to the presentation and to a partnership with Go H&I down the road.
Yeah, very exciting. Great presentation to kick off the meeting. Next thing we want to talk about, Mark, is item number 11. It's an award bid for some compaction side loading body and chassis units for recycling division. And pretty big number, $416,000 here. Tell us about what this exactly is and where it's going.
Our recycling program, our automated recycling program, is a whopping 7 years old. And the recycling trucks really do take a pretty good beating because they're getting glass crushed in there and things like that. So 7 years is about the most you can get out of these trucks. So it's time to start replacing them. So the first two, these are the first two trucks that'll get replaced. I think this program's been a wonderful success, and it's improved efficiencies for our refuse and recycling collection division, which is saving money. I know there was some trepidation at first with some of the charges we had, but we're really starting to see efficiencies there, and I think that the public is enjoying it, and now on for the next generation of trucks.
Definitely. And what benefits or perks have happened since starting this program? I mean, you said that we've been saving money. What can we see out of that?
Well, immediately we had reduced our recycling and refuse staff by 2 people. This past year we reduced it 1 more. Our folks are getting so efficient. I mean, you can see them just driving down the street. They can grab these things, get the garbage or recyclables out, and move on so quickly. And so it's a much more efficient process, and we have fewer people doing it than ever before.
Perfect. Very interesting. Next thing we want to talk about is kind of just a little shout out here. It's item number 28, the new appointments to boards and commissions. This is kind of an annual appointment, and a lot of them are actually reappointments. Tell us about that.
Yes. Every year there are certain boards and commissions that the terms expire, and they're on a rotating basis, and they're typically like 3-year terms, sometimes 4 or 5. But the idea is we have to replace people. Maybe they drop off, but these are the annual appointments, and the mayor submits these to council to approve. What this really is telling people, if you're interested in a board or commission, last month would have been a great time to get your name in, but you can always put your name in, because sometimes people leave terms early because they move or their schedule doesn't permit. But we have a multitude of boards and commissions that we're appointing people to, but honestly, most of them are reappointments. We don't get a lot of new appointees because we don't get a lot of new applicants. So very few replacements this time. So sign up if you're really interested.
And that's all available on the city website if you're interested in signing up. Next item we want to get to, Mark, is item number 34, agreement with the city of Neenah to undertake a wetland bank study. What exactly is that?
Whenever we do some primarily industrial expansion, we have to, if we come across some wetlands, we have to replace those wetlands or go around them. We're going to be partnering with the city of Neenah to potentially create our own wetland bank, which will save money for people because we'll have the economies of scale of a much larger facility. So we're really excited about being able to study this and perhaps partner with the city of Neenah.
That's very cool. We look forward to hearing more information about that. Another item we want to knock out here is accept the WEDC grant and apply CDBG funds to the balance of projects costs for the property located at the former Buckstaff property. So this is a big one. Is this the grant that we've been waiting for and talking about?
This is the grant we've been waiting for. It's only about half of what we were hoping for, so we've got to come up with about another $150,000. We've been fortunate over the last few months. People have been paying off some of their revolving loan fund loans for some housing improvements. So we have some funds available, and we're proposing to apply it to blight elimination. If anything's blighted, it's certainly the Buckstaff property. So I anticipate that we'll be, or the contractor through the bank and the Buckstaff owners group there, that they'll be knocking that down within the next month. They have to first get asbestos removal done. So you won't see it knocked down until the asbestos is done, but hopefully that'll be starting very soon.
Yes, you answered my question. I was going to ask when next, so that's very exciting. Last item we want to talk about is the workshop meeting at the very end of the council meeting in room 404, and that is about the rental housing program. So is this something that council has discussed in the past?
The council has not discussed this ordinance. In fact, this will be the first time that the council as a group has looked at the proposed ordinance. So this has been taking a long time because the state legislature had been debating for some time changes to this. At first, they were looking at prohibiting this program, but they have permitted a rental registry program and an inspection program, and we wanted to make sure that it was in keeping with the state law that had recently been adopted. So we held off on a final version until we had that. We did consult, staff consulted with people out in the community about features that and concerns that they think might come up. But now we have a rental registry program that's being presented to council, and then over time we'll get input from other members of the public, including the tenant community as well as the apartment owner community, the landlord community, to get their input on this. But neighborhood improvement is a huge part of our strategic plan, and this is really about ensuring health and safety. All we're doing is making sure that rental housing units are meeting minimum code standards. We're not looking for Taj Mahals. We're looking to make sure that we can ensure the safety and health of all the living units that we have in the city. And we start multifamily. This is going to include all rental housing units. The law was written in such a way that we have to inspect all of them. We can't just pick yours and not somebody else's. But this is a very effective program that's used in other areas of the country and has been picking up some steam in Wisconsin, particularly in our communities with rental housing for students. But it's not just, we can't just do it for student housing. That was prohibited by the state. So we could have done that as a pilot project, but we can't. We're not allowed to. So we're going to do this citywide, and I really think it'll help improve public safety. And the whole idea is for council to hear from staff about what's being proposed and get feedback, and then get feedback from the community, and then bring it back to council at a later time for consideration, 2 readings at a meeting.
Wonderful. And then that public input sessions, those will come after this. This is just the initial discussion with council.
That's correct.
Wonderful. So that is right after the council meeting. It'll be broadcast live on Oshkosh Gov TV and Oshkosh FM. You can also watch it on oshkoshmedia.org. So Mark, I got to thank you for joining us. We are out of time for today, and again, thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure.
Again, the City Council meeting is this Tuesday, May 24th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on Gov TV and on our website, oshkoshmedia.org, or listen to it on Oshkosh FM 101.9, which is also online and on the TuneIn Radio app for mobile devices. Don't forget to like our Facebook page, Oshkosh Media, or follow us on Twitter for community and government programming and updates, or you can check out our YouTube channel for government meeting replays and past episodes of your favorite programs. Thanks so much again for joining us on City Manager's Report. It's always a joy to have you view us, and we'll see you next time.